Okie dokie. So for this first one, we're multiplying. This and this are being multiplied together because there's a little invisible multiplication sign there. But before we start multiplying, we have to deal with the exponent here. This exponent too, right? Because exponents always comes first in PEMDAS. If you think about PEMDAS, exponents comes before multiplying, okay? So we're going to start with the exponent. Now that 2 means everything in there has to be raised to the 2 powers. So that's going to be 3 to the 2nd power, x squared to the 2nd power, and y to the 4th to the 2nd power. So let's start with that part, okay? So that part is going to be 3 squared will be 9, okay? So it's not 3 times 2, it's 3 to the 2nd power, right? Now, here we do multiply these two exponents together because when they're next to each other, exponent to an exponent, we multiply, right? But this is 3 to the 2nd power here, so we're not multiplying. That's actually the number 3 raised to the 2nd power. These are both exponents. So that will be x to the 4th, and then we'll multiply these exponents, that'll be y to the 8th. Okay, so that was just this part right here. All of that was this, okay? So we started with that exponent. So now we have 9x to the 4th times y to the 8th. That's this part. And then that's being multiplied by 6x to the 3rd y. Okay? This part here. So now we're multiplying. So now that we're multiplying, we're going to multiply the coefficients because they're just coefficients. They're not exponents. You're not going to add them. We're multiplying those. So we're going to multiply 9 times 6. That's 54. We're going to multiply x to the 4th times x to the 3rd. So we're doing 9 times 6 first. We're doing x to the 4th times x to the 3rd. And this is when you get to add exponents, right? Because you're multiplying two things of the same base. You can't multiply the x and the y because those don't have the same base. Right, but you can multiply this x and this x because they have the same base. So now you're going to add your exponents. So that'll be x to the 7th power because you're going to add 4 and 3. And then you're also going to multiply together the y. So y to the 8th times y, and this is a little invisible 1 there. So y to the 1. So again, we can multiply those together because they have the same base. The y is the base, so then we add the exponents. 8 plus 1 is 9. So that would be our final answer there for number 1. Now for number 2, we're dividing, right? That's what this symbol means. That means that we're dividing. So we're going to start with the coefficients. We're going to divide the coefficients, okay? So these numbers are getting divided because they're not exponents, they're coefficients. So we're going to divide them, okay? So 10 divided by 3, if you type that into your calculator, you're going to get 0.33333 repeating, which is a fraction, right? So we're not going to write the decimal version, okay? Instead, we're going to come over here to the side, and we're going to think about what 10 over 30 simplifies to. So to simplify a fraction, you want to find the greatest common factor. So what number they both are divisible by. So both 10 and 30 are divisible by 10. That's the biggest one. Technically 2, technically 5, but 10 is the biggest one. So we're going to divide the top and bottom by that common factor. When we do 10 divided by 10, we get 1. When we do 30 divided by 10, we get 3. So that means that 10 over 30 simplifies to 1/3. So our coefficient here is going to be 1/3 in the front. Then we're going to divide our x's because they have the same base. To divide your x's, you're going to subtract the exponents. You're going to do 4 minus 12. And when you do 4 minus 12, you're going to get -8. So it's going to be x to the -8 power. Okay? So our coefficient is 1/3. We subtracted the exponents for the x's because those have the same base. And now we're going to subtract the y exponents because we're dividing those. And when you divide two things of the same base, you subtract the exponents. So, as a recap, we did 10 divided by 30. That's not a nice number, so we simplified that fraction. That's going to equal 1/3. Then we did x to the 4th divided by x to the 12th. And to do that, we subtract their exponents. So 4 minus 12, that's going to be x to the negative 8. Okay? Then, after that, our next step, move this out of the way here, is that we're going to subtract the y exponents, right? So we're going to do y to the 9 minus negative 3, right? We're going to subtract those. 9 minus negative 3, okay? Subtracting those exponents, but that's going to be 9 plus 3, because when you have a negative minus a minus and negative, it becomes a plus 3. So this is going to be y to the 12th. Okay, so we subtracted the x exponents, 4 minus 12, that gave us negative 8. We subtracted the y exponents because we're dividing things of the same base. 9 minus negative 3 becomes 9 plus 3. So that's 12. Now we're almost done. This is almost our answer, but we don't like negative exponents in our answer, so that x has to be moved to the bottom. But we already have something in our denominator. We have a 3 in the bottom, so that x needs to go down there in the bottom so that we can make it positive. So we'll write our fraction. We have a 3 in the bottom. We're going to move the x down there and make the exponent positive because it was in the top. And then the y is going to stay in the top. Technically, you could say up there it's up there with the 1, but usually we don't write that 1 in front. We just call it y to the 12th. So that is our answer for number 2.